My name is Sam. I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager here at Fairygodboss. And Fairygodboss is the largest career community for women. Our mission is to improve the workplace by increasing transparency, and we offer a ton of great free resources like anonymous company reviews, job listings, articles, virtual recruiting events, and so much more to help you succeed throughout your career. We will be taking questions at the end of today's webinar. You can leave them in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. And feel free to leave questions as yourself or anonymously. We will get to as many as possible at the end. We're also recording today's webinar and we'll send it out in a follow-up email, as well as some information from Judy and Linda. So be on the lookout for that. If you miss anything, you'll be able to watch it back later. Here with me today are Judy and Linda from Evolve Me. And with that, I'll pass it right over to both of you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much, Samantha. It's great to be here. We're thrilled to partner at Evolve Me with Fairygodboss on this webinar, Midlife Career Guide, How to Gain Confidence for Your Dream Next Career. So thank you for all making the time to invest in yourselves and your career this afternoon or this morning with us, wherever you're zooming in from. It seems like we have women from all across the country, so that's wonderful to see. I'm Judy Schoenberg. I'm co-founder of Evolve Me with Linda Lautenberg, and we're so happy to see you showing up again to evolve, you and invest in your career, even during a pandemic. We probably have some familiar faces here with us. We can't see all of you. We're quite a big group now, over 100, so that's amazing. And we believe that this time is we're ripe for reflection and really to be thinking about our next steps. And it's time to not be putting decisions on pause. We've been in this state for quite some time now, for 7-8 months. And while there's a lot of uncertainty still before us, it's also a time to make some positive change for yourself and set the stage for the future. So we're here at Evolve Me to make career transition in midlife fun, doable and rewarding. And we're career pivoters and returners ourselves. So we've been in your shoes, and we're here to help you get to that next place. And we know that your future self will thank you for it. So, Linda, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oops. Sure. So my name's Linda Lautenberg, and I'm really excited to be here with all of you. And I love working with Judy. My background is, I have a finance background, and I took a lengthy career break, partly because of my husband's job. We moved, and then I stayed out for my kids. But when I was looking for next chapter, I really was looking for some kind of program that had some structure and that would give me a community to come back into the workforce. And it was really, really hard to find. So we're excited to be bringing this program to you. And yeah, let's get started.
Great. Thanks. So why are you here? Why did you show up? So this training is for you if you're thinking about career change but don't know exactly where to start. I didn't mention this about myself, but I, as a career changer, career pivoter, I had a long tenure in the nonprofit sector. I worked at Girl Scouts of the USA for 15 years and other foundations. And I knew that I wanted to leverage my skills in that sector, but I didn't quite know how to start. And there weren't a lot of other programs out there focused on women specifically in the midlife stage. Perhaps you want to return to work after a break. You've taken a break to care for children or for elders, and now it's time for you. Fill in the blank, whatever that might be, the reason that you took a break. And we're, working with a lot of women right now who are furloughed or laid off due to the pandemic or other circumstances. And also, you might be going through a personal transition on top of all of these things, such as a divorce or a health crisis, and you really want to take the time now to regain a professional identity. Perhaps, you're just losing confidence, sending out resumes, looking on job boards, and you're not getting, much traction. You're not kind of getting where you need to be, and you're feeling like drained by it and probably frustrated. So if this sounds like you, you're in the right place. And we see you. So we see you. We know that you're talented and you're probably motivated because you showed up here already to take that first step. And you probably have had career success in the past, you know, being in midlife, you've had a lot of experiences, but now you might have a hard time believing that you can make a change now. You know, you're asking yourself, is it too late? That's a refrain we hear a lot. And we've been there. We've been there, and we were committed, Linda and I, we heard one woman say this to us recently, and it just resonated. You know, we wanted to outperform our future selves, our previous selves in our career transition. Again, after a long, rewarding career in the nonprofit sector, I was asking myself, you know, how do I make a decision? I had the privilege of being able to leave my role after 15 years, but I never thought about myself as a quitter. And I realized that after I quit and took that leap of faith, that it wasn't really quitting, it was really aligning myself to who I am right now and what I value. And along the way, that's when I met Linda. I did a program similar to the one that we run now, but it doesn't exist anymore. It was focused specifically on women who wanted to return into social impact. We knew that we needed to pay it forward because so many women wanted more meaning, you know, in their careers and wanted more flexibility. And that's what brought us here today to found Evolve. We know how hard it is to make a career change in midlife on your own. And we know how powerful it is when we bring women together, and that this career transition time can actually be something very fulfilling in and of itself, and you'll get results faster when we go through it together. So what gets me up is knowing how many women's lives we can transform and already have been. And, I love my work for many reasons. One is I get to work with Linda, but now it's also because it gives me so much purpose in these times when, we know that we need focus and energy and motivation to keep going. And we want that for you too. So our promise to you is we will be authentic. We will bring our real selves. You can save your professional self in terms of the questions you ask and anything that's on your mind this afternoon. You can save that professional self for the interview. But we're really kind of core to who we are as a company and as people is we bring our real self to the table, not necessarily, or it doesn't have to be your best self, bring your real self. We also are we choose optimism, we choose hope, and we believe that, optimism and hope are not just emotions. We can actually learn to be more optimistic, but we're also realistic. So you'll hear a dash of both of those when we go through the training. And we also, base a lot of what we do on research, but it's also very practically oriented. So we practice everything that we talk about, all the concepts that we talk about in our work. We do a lot of hands-on exercises and activities, and it's our goal to make all of the Zoom work that we do now as interactive as it has been when we've been working in person with women. So why we created this training, we know that, owning your value is really your strongest asset that you can bring to career change in midlife and building confidence. We know, think about this, 95% of resumes never get read. So the whole kind of, spray and pray and, hope for the best is not going to be, necessarily the shortest route to a transition. We also know that 80% of jobs are filled by connections. Connections are everything now, especially because we can't be in person. Making those, rekindling personal connections and professional connections from the past and even new ones are really key to keeping up networking now. And that's how people land roles. And we also know that career confidence can be developed, right? It's not an innate trait that we're born with. It can really be honed. And the good news for women in midlife is that confidence increases with age, and experience. And that's something that you all can bring to the table. So, we get a lot of requests from women, can you help us with our resumes? That's the first place, that they go to. And we know, that many people, need to be in roles right now and are maybe feeling that crunch, but it's not enough just to start with your resume, and it's not the place to start. You need to be able to speak about why a change makes sense for you, whether it's a promotion, a return to paid work, a new volunteer role, because your resume won't necessarily always speak for itself, right? And if you just send your resume to other people, they're going to want to know, okay, well, what can I say about you? And so you need to have that story in place, that pitch, so other people can speak well on your behalf and introduce you to even more people, right? So, because we know that that's how roles are landed. So communicating our value and doing that with confidence is something that can really propel us forward. And we're going to get into that now.
The other thing I would just like to add is the whole, when Judy mentioned about the spray and pray with the resumes, if you want to do one thing to really hurt your confidence and make you not feel great about yourself, it is sending tens and tens of resumes out into the ether and not getting any traction, because all that just feels like is rejection, when actually not so much of it is rejection. It's just, that's just not really how jobs are filled.
So we're going to walk you through 4 areas that build midlife confidence. So one of them is owning your value, right? Owning all of your skills, your talents, your passions, what you're good at, what other people go to you for. All of those things are in your toolkit to bring to light. And you're going to, think about shining the light on the ones that you want to leverage now. It doesn't have to be all of those things. You also are going to need to create a story, right? A story, because your story is something that you have, to own yourself. And it's also about how you show up, even on video and on, Zoom these days. What energy are you bringing to the interactions that you have? And how can that help build your confidence in midlife? As Linda, was saying, it's not about what's happening on the outside, right? So it's not about the opportunities that you see or you're, maybe missing out on or being, rejected by. It's not about the number of resumes that you send out. And, it's not about, the format of your cover letter, all of those things. The heart of the matter is really what's happening on the inside. So you can work on SEO and you can work on keywords, from job descriptions for your resume and LinkedIn. Yeah, that doesn't hurt. And those things are important, but you don't want to be leaving your fate up to, an algorithm. You need to believe in how you can align your personal value to how you'll impact others, the value that you bring, the contributions that you'll bring to companies, to projects, to problems that need to be solved. And only you can do that by believing and sharing what's inside of you, right? So those things can either keep you down, depending on how you think about them, or propel you forward. So when you think about yourself and all the value that you do have to offer, the rest will follow. And we promise, because as we were sharing earlier, we are you. We've been there, as career returners, changers, and pivoters. And we love this quote from Diane von Furstenberg. Who's going to give you everything? It's yourself. And it kind of really encapsulates for us that career reinvention and that confidence is really an inside job. So the first area that we wanted to talk about is that, ageism. Ageism, it can be a self-fulfilling prophecy for many of us, it has been for us. We need to believe in what we can offer right now. And you see examples of so many women at midlife from all different fields who really reinvented themselves and just got going, in midlife. So we know that, you've amassed a lot of skills and life experience, that you're, talented, educated, and maybe you can even accomplish more than you could before, because you've learned how to multitask, right? Managing many different areas of your life. And you probably, like us, can now, especially during the pandemic, manage more, be able to do more with less time even. And you're ready to jump back into your career. So think about this. What is holding you back? So ageism is real. You know, we are not going to deny that it is real. It's one of the, you know, last acceptable isms, unfortunately, in the workplace. And, you know, we're trying hard at Evolve Me to change that. So, but it's a real thing. That's true. But it's also true that it's a real thing inside of you. So many women we work with ask us, you know, how to get around ageism, you know, saying employers, you know, only want to talk to, you know, to people who are more youthful, millennials, et cetera. That's true, but we need to, at the same time, you know, we're trying to change the culture of that at Evolve Me, but also ask women to look at themselves, right? So take a look in the mirror, and how is ageism a self-fulfilling prophecy for you? You know, what stories do you tell yourself about your age and your career potential? So we hear this a lot, and this might resonate with some of you, you know, technology or anything else really relevant in 22, fill in the blank. That's a young person's industry. They don't want someone my age. You know, how many times have you thought about that? You know, Linda, you know, bucks that trend because Linda at our small company is had a background in finance, and now she's our chief technology officer. So she kind of got herself, you know, over that hurdle with the philosophy of like, is everything is figure outable. So Linda, if you wanted to talk a little bit about that.
I would actually say that that is one of the things that in midlife that we are the best at, and you'll see it time and again. I don't know if any of you have kids, but my kids will ask me, like, how do I do X, Y, Z? They don't, you know, younger people, even millennials, don't quite have that that just figure it out mentality that you by midlife have had to adapt just because you juggle so many things. And women are much better at it than men too, I would say. So it's really one of those strengths. And so, for example, something like tech, if that's one of the things that you're nervous about re-entering or making a change, it is one of the most figure outable things there is. Everything is Googleable, everything is figure outable. And that's one of our big strengths in midlife.
So what does your inner voice right now say about your age? You know, if I wasn't too old, I'd do this. If I was younger, I'd do Y. You know, it's too late to do, you know, whatever your X is, your dream. No one will hire me because I'm in my 40s, my 50s, my 60s, or, you know, I'm too expensive. I have too much experience. You know, nobody's going to pay for, you know, for what I have to offer, or, you know, I'm overqualified. I'm too qualified, and, you know, I'm not going to be able to get back in, or I'm change field. So these kinds of voices that we have in our head are rendering ourselves irrelevant even before we get started. They're making us want to just, you know, throw in the towel. Like, if these things are true, like, forget it. Like, why even bother? So think about what you need to believe in order to age-proof yourself and get that confidence back. So think about one of those inner voices that you need to overcome in order to age-proof yourself. And maybe it's one of these, maybe it's something else. It's different for all of us. So if you want to just take a minute to write that down, hopefully you have a piece of paper or a notebook near you, and then share it with us in the chat. I bet we'll see a lot of overlapping voices because we're all kind of in the same space. So let's see. So take a minute just to think about what that inner voice is that you need to overcome, and share it with us in the chat. I'm overqualified.
Lots of overqualified.
58-year-old former executive. Imposter syndrome. I don't have what it takes. I don't have formal training. I'm overqualified, not enough experience in a field I want to go into, too expensive.
It's too late. It's not too late. Never too late.
I'm never going to be paid for all of my experiences. I'm not for long enough in my career based on my age. Overqualified, imposter syndrome. Won't get a chance by someone in a different industry. Working in a tech field, I've worked myself into a corner with high pay. The jobs I'm interested in are much lower pay. Imposter syndrome is a really big one for everybody.
Scared of change. I get that.
I don't know how to get outside of the education market. I'm afraid to fail.
You can't be out of work too long. I was out for 18 years.
Why are you looking for a job? I've gotten too comfortable in my current job. So a lot of concern about imposter syndrome, feeling like a fraud, not being able to go into a new industry because you don't have the experience, or maybe you've been out too long, or you're overqualified, skills are outdated.
Fear of failure again.
Fear of failure.
People assume I'm going to retire. I don't know what to do. Boy, that was me. I didn't know what to do. I only knew what I didn't want to do, but I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Re-entering after 20 years, never became an expert, fear of change. So a lot of overlapping concerns, and some of them
want to do so much. No clarity because she wants to do so much. That's great.
Oh, well, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
I mean, you're starting from a place of abundance. No one will be interested in hiring me. Fear I won't be as good as I used to be.
You're only out 3 years. That's nothing.
And all the skills that you really have, they don't go away. You know what I mean? You might need to update some of your skills, but they're still yours. That's the good news. Even if you're not in those roles anymore, they're still your skills to own. I've had the same job for 30 years. I had the same job for 15 years. So I feel you, twice as long as what I was in. Okay.
And I would just, one thing, just as a little side note, if you're ever just looking for some inspiration on women that have made midlife career changes, we curate a lot of stories on our website. If you go to our website, evolveme.work, in the blog, we have a lot of stories there of women that have done some really amazing things midlife.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Linda, because we always say, like, if you can't see it, you can't be it. And there's not enough images of women who've made changes later on in life and have come out on the other side feeling good about it and successful. So these stories are really very compelling and inspirational.
So,
thanks. So the good news, and I think that we saw, like from some of your responses in the chat, that so many of you are have so much experience, right? So the good news when we're making a change in midlife is that even if it feels that we're starting from scratch, we're not, right? And there's actually an opportunity and an edge we have in midlife because we've done this before. Think about all the changes that you've probably had in your career and leading up to this day, and we have an edge because we have experience. You know, we have a lot of life wisdom just from, you know, being the age that we are and just being exposed to different things that we've had to confront, you know, in our own lives. We have judgment because of that, you know, decisions we've had to make, choices, and we have a lot of soft skills as well. And we'll get into talking about why those are so important for career change and how you all probably have more than you actually are realizing are so necessary for transition.
And I saw a lot of people put in there fear of failure. I bet if you look back in your life, there have been times when you haven't succeeded and you've overcome that and you just haven't gone back and really thought about how resilient you really are.
That's a great segue to somebody who is very resilient, a woman that we worked with, Susie, and she, her tips for us about reinvention are, finding your tribe. So finding a group of women, who can inspire you, who are either going through it or are on the other side. And starting from where you are. Again, we're not starting from scratch. And the key at this stage is really to be open, right? To be open to learning. That learning is a lifelong process. It doesn't stop after we get our college degree or our graduate degree or the things that we learn on our jobs. Really having a lifelong approach to learning and being curious about the world around us and what's going on and staying on top of things that we're interested in. So this is Susie, and she started from where she was in her transition. She had been out of the workforce for 8 years. She was looking to make a change, and she was becoming the sole breadwinner for her family. She had been in the social impacts world for quite some time in international development. And she decided, she read an article about how blockchain was being used to track refugees, and she became very interested in how a technology could be used for social purposes, something pro-social. And she started reading about blockchain, and then she started looking to see who was doing that work that was interesting, and people in her own network, even in her own personal network, who were in the technology world, who who could talk to her about it. And so she started talking to them about it, and then she started writing about what she was talking to them about, even informally. And then she started writing about it and posting about it on LinkedIn and creating conversations with other technology leaders, by commenting on things they posting things herself, really creating herself as someone very curious and interested in the field, and over a few months becoming somebody who could be looked at for a thought leader, especially how technology and social impact came together around blockchain. And the end of this story is that she got hired in one of the biggest blockchain companies right now in the world. So she created the experience that she needed, right? That she needed to have. She didn't start out having that technology background at all, but she acted on what she was curious about and what really resonated with her, what aligned with who she was right now. And she got to a really a good place for her that totally opened up new opportunities and new doors and a new way of seeing herself.
And she used the tools at hand to basically go from, and when she started this process, she didn't even have a LinkedIn, and she was actually terrified to have a LinkedIn. So she was the opposite of tech savvy, but she basically turned herself into an expert just using the tools at hand and not assuming that she had to go back to school and get, she could have said, I want to do blockchain. I need to go back to school and get a degree in this, which is what happens with a lot of women. We feel like we need that certificate to prove our expertise, when really a lot of the tools are right at our own hands.
Yeah. So the second area that we're going to talk about is transferable skills. So we hear from a lot of women who ask us, well, I don't have the skills to go into, this new field that I want to go in. How can I change industries like at this time? And also, some women who've been on a break might be volunteering. We get this question a lot. This is Nora. She also was in a cohort program with us. And her question was whether she could put that she was PTA president on her resume. Would that matter? Does anybody care that I was PTA president? That's what she asked us. And so this again speaks into the area, the idea that we're not starting from scratch, that all of our experiences, even our volunteer and our pro bono experiences, are giving us key transferable skills. Right, and transferable skills mean skills that are, that we can carry from one experience to the next, and our industry agnostic. So let's say, like, just for the PTA role, we can think about things like leadership and communication, managing different stakeholders, budgeting, relationship building, project management, all these kinds of transferable skills, sometimes referred to as soft skills, because they're not the hard skills that are more of your technical background, but they are easily transferable from one industry to the next. So you need to be able to communicate your transferable skills, and that's on your resume, on your LinkedIn. And again, there are those portable abilities and expertise which can be used across roles or industries. So, some examples that I'm sure many of you already have. Think about ones that you want to elevate in your next chapter, like communication, collaboration, having a growth mindset, that we can grow and change at any age and stage. Being able to work in teams, being adaptable. I think being adaptable is very key right now, being nimble and really being amenable to change. Having emotional intelligence, being able to solve problems and position yourself as a problem solver, all those kinds of things. And the reason that transferable skills are so important is because they're a value currency right now. When you look at half, of new people who are hired within their first, year and a half, 89% of new hires fail, and those are because of lack of soft skills. So, we think, that AI and technology is like where it's at, but in fact, having the human-to-human skills are in such high demand because only we can do that. Robots can't replace the human factor, and that we know that soft skills will increase our employability, and they also can help position past experience to future opportunities. If you harness very specific, soft skills that you want to, leverage when you're, applying for new roles. So, no matter what the industry is, listening, getting along with others, being able to work in a team, those are vital to success. And the good news is that, more often than not, women tend to have a lot of these softer skills and transferable skills. So they're really crucial for a career change to be successful, to think about the ones that you have now.
And there are also skills that get stronger and more developed and more refined as we get older.
Yeah, so think about, I bet you can think about 3 transferable skills just off the top of your head. So think about what 3 are right now that you can identify, and you can just write them down just so you have them for yourself. That's can be very confidence boosting in and of itself. So this is Elise, and we're sharing Elise's story with you because she came to realize that a soft skill, transferable skill, either way you want to slice it, was what she had was compassion. And at first, Elise was in the retail kind of corporate sector, and she had an executive role, and she really valued compassion. She knew that compassion was something that was very close to her heart, but she didn't necessarily see it being valued in her workplace. And what Elise realized was that not only was it a core value for her, but it was one of her greatest strengths. And it was also a skill that she, felt that she wanted to use in her next chapter. And she said that she realized that it was okay to actually make compassion a centerpiece of her next chapter. So she organized her direction for her career from the corporate, retail sector to being about mindfulness and wellness education, and really putting compassion, at the heart of her new career. And she's done that successfully, and she's, a lot happier for it. We love Michelle Obama, so a presentation for us is not complete unless we have one of her amazing quotes. And we're going to go on to talk about creating a new career story. So once you've kind of, thinking about the skills that you want to leverage, and if you're thinking about, the voices in your head and how you can overcome, those voices to really fend off ageism that might be inside of you. What kind of, story can you tell? What story can you own now? So your story is what you have. You'll always have it, right? And it's something that you own. It's something to own. So, we're not our titles. We're not, if we've worked for somewhere, for 30 years, like that employer, that former employer doesn't own our story. It's up to us to look across all of our experiences and really own that narrative for ourselves. So often people, go to somebody else to rewrite their resume for them. That doesn't necessarily always work, because you need to tell your own story about why a change makes sense for you, right? And only you can really do that. And a career story is important because it helps you believe in yourself. It really helps you have that confidence when you look across all of your experiences and you're lifting up your skills and your accomplishments. And it helps you create a narrative thread of your professional life, right? And explain from your perspective how you're getting from point A and to your future point B, right? You need to be able to communicate that to future employers or, future clients, so forth. So as any good story needs, as a turning point, right? So the hook. So think about what your hook is if you're in that space now. The hook to discover who you really are. So for my hook, my turning point was, I was sitting in my cube and, I was about to sign on for another 5 years of a new strategic plan for the organization I was working at. And I thought to myself, do I really want to be working here at 50? I started here when I was 29. I'm a different person now and different things are important to me. And, I don't see my values resonating here anymore. So that was my turning point. Linda's was a little different. Can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. My turning point was that I was really, really busy, not only raising my family, but doing a lot of things in a lot of leadership roles and working really, really hard, but nobody was paying me for any of the roles that I was doing. And my oldest was getting ready to leave for college, and I kind of looked at the horizon and I thought, well, what is going to be next for me? Because what I was doing right now wasn't really what I saw as my future. And I wanted there to be a next chapter for me as my kids all went off to school.
Okay, so this is Judy, a different Judy than myself, but that we've worked with Judy in a cohort in the past. And so Judy's hook, her headline around her career story was, and then one day I had the keys to my own office that nobody knew about. And I had my professional self back. So we love the story about Judy. Her story was that she was working part-time, raising her sons, was a freelance lawyer, kind of fitting in, working while parenting. We know how that goes. It can be very difficult. And when her kids got a little older, she decided, that she really wanted to take back her professional self. And so what she did was she got a co-working space which had keys to it. And one day, her husband saw the keys lying around and said, "What are those?" And she's like, "Oh, that's my office keys." And so the story unfolds, right? So fast forward, she became a certified B Corporation, her law firm, she now is a boutique law firm. She is a thought leader now, as a social advocate. And she just launched a brand new podcast, which you see her doing so happily here. So we're super proud of Judy and just love that she has stuck with the Evolve community and is always up to something new. And everybody should have keys to their own virtual proverbial office. Our last takeaway around building career confidence in midlife is around what we call the 3 E's for engagement. If we could all be this seemingly so vibrant on Zoom all the time. That would be wonderful. But we know that how we communicate, how we show up, our tone, our energy, our excitement in our voice, in our eyes, whatever we have, you know, from the waist up right now, our enthusiasm, all of that, jazz hands optional sometimes, all of that makes all the difference in how we're communicating our story, right? And how we're, when we reach out to people, you know, either it's even, you know, former contacts, new contacts that you might make on LinkedIn, or, you know, meetups and webinars, like all of the energy and that excitement and enthusiasm, if you can, you know, bottle that up, the more you communicate your passion, you know, how passionate you are about what you're talking about what you're interested in, that'll really penetrate, you know, and then people will want to work harder for you they'll feel that, you know, and then they'll want to reach out and say, oh yeah, like I need to connect you with so-and-so. And I know an organization you should reach out to. So just remember that what you put out there, you know, it all has an impact, right? It all there's a domino effect to how we show up.
But it's much harder to have energy, excitement, and enthusiasm when you are not convinced yourself of what path it is that you're wanting to take, or convinced of your own skills in that area, or feeling really clear. It's when you're really clear on what you want to do that all these 3 E's come through and make you much more compelling.
So this is another woman we worked with, Susan, and she became very clear very quickly in the beginning of a cohort experience with us of what she wanted to do. And she had a background also in the nonprofit sector, and she actually flew down from Florida to do in-person meetings with us in our cohort in New York City. And she was offered an opportunity, you know, at the very beginning of the program, and she still kept flying down to work with us, but in cybersecurity. That was totally a new field for her. And she, you know, she believed that she could make it work, and she wanted to, and she just said yes. She said yes with like all of the energy and enthusiasm of somebody who's just gonna try it out and take a risk on herself, and try something new. And so, you know, she told us that, you know, that's the mentality that we have now in our Reinvention Collective, Evolve Me Signature Program. And it was other women reminding her that she could do it. So like, so often we hear, you know, you don't remember some, like all the skills that you have or all the accomplishments or all the things that you've done. But when you hear it resonating from other women will self-promote you, and more than you can yourself sometimes, and remind you of all the things that you really can do. So we're really happy for Susan that she took that leap. So if you're feeling all of the things that we've been talking about, that, you know, it's not just you, it's actually bears out in research by Harvard Business Review that women lack confidence. That lack of confidence that we feel is often about that we feel that others won't value our contributions, right? And understanding that and being afraid of that might unintentionally hold us back from applying for jobs, for negotiating our salaries and asking for what we're worth, for asking for promotions. And, you know, men often just go for it and can, you know, figure it out later. You know, they just do that more in terms of when you look at resumes, you know, and people saying like, oh, should I apply for this job description? Should I send out my resume? Stereotypically speaking, and, you know, this bears out in reality, a man might look at the job description and say, oh, you know, I probably have like 30 to 40% of what they're looking for. I'll just put it in anyway, you know, and women will say, oh, I can't, you know, tick off everything in the job description and match it up to what I have on my resume. You know, I'll just pass, you know, it's probably not going to work out. So that's like a key difference that we need to be mindful of, because it does happen, you know, in practical, not just in the research, but in real life too. And we know that if we want to truly thrive, we need to get a picture of ourselves. One of the most powerful ways to do that is getting a truer picture of yourself through the eyes of other women. And we've seen that bear out time and time again as the magic, and we call it the special sauce of our group programming at Evolve Me. And so we have a method to this, which is a method, 4-part method for career reinvention at midlife. And it's not that you just go around the wheel once. You might go around the wheel a few times, because career reinvention, it's not linear. It's all about taking the next right move. Keep, with a bias towards action, not rumination in our heads, but really getting out of our heads and starting to act and do and experiment. And it's a continuous journey. So in our Reinvention Collective, our first virtual training program that's actually starting this Tuesday, we're super excited. You'll hear a little bit more about that soon. And we have a few spots left, so that's great. We will look at these 4 phases, and we'll take you through to give you the structure and the framework that you need for success. So we'll focus on discovering our transferable skills, what we love to do, what we own as our own superpowers, and then we'll amplify how we see ourselves in the world by gaining confidence from being with other women, who are from different industries. So often if you do professional development activities or conferences, you're with, if you're a lawyer, you're with other lawyers. If you're, in finance, you're with other people who are finance professionals. We have women who are, come from all different industries. So somebody who's maybe, a designer can see different things in somebody who's a management consultant that they can't see in themselves, because they're always, talking to people in their own industry. We'll also work on creating a compelling pitch. We call it our pivot pitch, that we can go out into the world with a concise, compelling story, and work on our personal brand as well. Because again, we're not who we worked at last year or who we worked for 10 years ago. We have our own personal story. And we'll look at our personal brand vis-a-vis LinkedIn. So really our LinkedIn and our resume are totally different beasts, so to speak, and we'll bring in career experts on LinkedIn and career change for the resume piece. We also will have sessions where we do informational interviewing with women and mentors and advisors. And we will have an amazing field day experience where we will bring employers to you to talk about all the skills that they're looking for right now and how you can be a relevant candidate for their companies and other companies in their field as a midlife career changer. So we'll also just, Linda and I have vast networks and we are very generous. And so we will introduce you to women in our network so that you can start experimenting with roles and making more contacts and gaining a broader network. And through working with us in our group programming, you'll also leave with a personal board of advisors just for you, because these are women, extra 10, 15 or more women in our group programming who will know you very intimately and will always be in your corner. We know, like as Brene Brown, if you know the psychologist Brene Brown, she loves to say confidence is contagious. And when we worked with Anna, she saw that other women, saw the strengths that she had before she was ready to see them for herself. And she was in the impact investing field and community development as well. And she was dealing with some caretaking responsibilities for her 2 children who were very ill. And she couldn't really see herself in the professional way anymore because she was just so immersed in the caretaking responsibilities. And it took other women really telling her story back for her, realizing what she had to still offer, that she got back on track and was able to, regain a sense of her career again. So what we've covered, clarity about how ageism is holding you back, unlocking transferable skills that are so key for career change, some direction in how to develop a compelling career story, And then how to energize others that we're dealing with, that we're talking to in our networks, and get real results. So grasping these things will save you time and energy later. 4 things. So what have you learned so far? We'd love to hear from you now. What are some insights you're taking away? If you want to just take a minute to put in the chat, what's 1 or 2 things that you're taking away, that you're learning? Someone was talking about, mentioned these women being part of a cohort. What's a Fairygodboss cohort? It's Evolve Me that has the cohorts, and we will talk about our Reinvention collective very shortly. I love the idea of creating your own career story, developing a board of advisors. Love this. That
More
I have
to contribute than you thought.
That's so important.
Positive headspace, absolutely. And learning to network. I've heard women tell me that they are really good at networking for other people, but not for themselves.
Ready to get started.
Yay.
Knowing my value.
It's okay to invest in me. Yes, we do work with women whose careers have been in nonprofit management. Judy's whole career up until now was nonprofit.
Yes. Gain the confidence to ask for help. You aren't an imposter if you are
an expert.
The 3 E's.
You're an expert, just maybe not in what you're looking to be an expert in.
I totally agree that those 3 E's come more naturally when you're more clear about what you want to do. You could only have energy about something when you actually know what that is, right? Communicating a compelling story.
That was definitely my story, because I just couldn't figure out exactly what it was that I wanted to do. And I knew once I got focused on it, I could be very enthusiastic, but it's very hard to network with somebody if you can't come across very compelling if you're not clear.
Communicate with passion.
Yeah, this is the key.
Stop obsessing over the resume and cover letter and focus attention on the real influential aspects of the job hunt. That's so true.
Honestly, what happens is when you do everybody's really in a hurry, and especially, when we're in midlife, maybe we feel like time is running out, and so we're just in a hurry and we want to just have something on, get something tangible. So we want to just dig into the resume right away. But it is really hard, tough going to get that on paper, and what you come out with doesn't really reflect you. And so many people want to skip the first part of doing that deep work in the first 2 quadrants of our method. But if you do that, the resume and the LinkedIn kind of fill themselves out because you've already done the work. It's just a matter of then transferring it to paper or onto, a screen.
Having a hard time networking. Okay, thank you so much. You're spot on. It's basically an inside job. Monique is here.
Hi, Monique.
Women are more concerned about having experience in job readiness, but men are apt to go for it and figure it out. Exactly.
It's very true.
Thank you,
we like men a lot. We both married men. It's just a difference. It's just a difference that you just have to be aware of.
I recently identified my values in DISC profile. It was very telling and helpful to start to define my direction and embrace my strengths. Yeah, some of those strengths assessments are really, they can be really spot on and also confidence boosting to know, that they're vetted and you can take them out into the world.
Yeah, we're actually purchasing for everybody that's in our collective a strengths assessment and have someone coming in that is an expert in reading these strengths assessments. It's one that is used widely by a lot of companies, so it's very recognized. And we'll be doing that in the second month.
Yeah. Okay. Question strengths is amazingly helpful. Oh, good. Glad that it was for you. We're excited to use it in the collective starting next week. Would you put something like your ENFJ or your DISC assessment right on your profile or resume? I can answer that quickly, which is I think that you can put some of the strengths from it. I wouldn't necessarily put that you've done that one on it, but you can mention that in interviews more. You could organically, you could bring it up more, in interviewing. I really identify with your comments about skepticism from the hiring manager and knowing a lot about nothing and everything. Thank you. Okay, well, these are great comments. I love the engagement in the group. So thank you. It seems like that you took away some useful ideas, and you also are very an aligned group on how you're thinking about things. We'd love to hear from you now. Some people were asking us questions about our programming or other thoughts that they had about how to get involved and act on some of the things that we talked about. So how committed, we just wanted to get a read of women on here with us now. How committed are you to acting on what you learned today? All the things that you put in the comments and the chats right now. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very, very super committed, 1, unsure.
Oh, somebody's triple 10.
Triple 10, 10s.
And lots of 8s and 9s too.
8s and 9s. Great. Oh, we love working with women who are ready and motivated and committed. 8, 9, 10. Great. Okay. So let's see. What do you want to?
Oops, advance this. Sorry.
Okay, so let's get started. We have something for you. It seems that if you're ready to work with us, we are offering 5 of today's participants on this webinar a 30-minute one-on-one reinvention breakthrough session with us. And what you could do, we don't necessarily advocate for multitasking in the chat room, but if we want to put the profile up, the form to fill out to see if you qualify for a session. If you take a minute to fill out the form, we will contact you by email and let you know if you qualify. Linda's going to put up the form right now. It's bit.ly, bit.ly, evolve me session.
You know what? It's not linked, unfortunately, because I typed it in. But if you
copy it,
it will work.
Yeah.
I'll put it down here again so it keeps. Yeah.
Oh, so I think so. So please, take some time to fill out the form, and if you can't do it right now, just copy and paste it in an email, and then you can fill it out later. We're not allowed to copy and paste; it's disabled.
Oh no!
So, is there a way to put the link in?
Yeah, hold on. Let me see if I can move this.
Oh, somebody just said do Control C. It worked for somebody else. Or you could even just write it down. Okay, well, Linda's going to try to put the link in.
Yeah, I thought I had it copied, so now I just typed it. Anyway, you carry on, Judy, and I will figure this out.
Okay, if you just want to advance the slide and then.
Sure.
Okay, so the women evolving with us have made lots of transformation. They have gotten off of furlough, they've gotten interviews, they've gotten part-time jobs, full-time jobs, they've become entrepreneurs and started their own businesses together, some of them. And above all of that, they've also just transformed how they see themselves. So what's possible for you right now? We heard a lot of people want more direction, more confidence, more opportunities flowing their way, and want to feel less overwhelmed by this whole process, less time spinning their wheels without getting traction, and less isolation. That was one of the biggest things for Linda and I. We really needed a group of women to be able to do this with. So the Reinvention Collective is starting next week on Tuesday, and it's a group training experience for 8 weeks. We meet for 2 hours on Zoom, and we also meet an additional hour in smaller accountability groups, and we'll let you know right now what that will look like, the curriculum. So it's an 8-week program based on the method that we had shared earlier for women in career transition, owning your superpowers, clarifying your direction, tackling imposter syndrome, which many of you talked about in the chat, crafting that pivot pitch story. We bring in career experts, top experts in doing a resume refresh, doing personal branding, refreshing your LinkedIn profile. We have speed informational interviewing sessions and virtual networking field days. And we are almost full in our group, but if there is enough interest, especially based on all of the, the forms that you'll fill out, we will think about opening up another section, another cohort. Someone asked the cost of the program. The cost of the program is at full price. It's $19.97 for the 8 weeks. If you join as an Evolved member, which is $27 a month, you can get $250 off, and so it comes to $17.57. If you have a friend that you'd like to join up with, we are offering bring a friend pricing at $1,500 each. The virtual meetings right now are slated for this cohort starting on Tuesday from 9:30 to 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. Depending on the makeup of the next cohort section, we can base it on what part of the country people are Zooming in from and make it amenable to them. So, think about what's it worth to you right now to have greater career direction, your confidence, your emotional wellness, your financial health, your time, your energy. Think about all those things and how, you want to get to where you want to be more quickly. We know that we are running out of time. We're at 1:03. I know that people have been asking questions. We want to wrap up now so that Sam can come back on, and we will be sending out Fairygodboss the program is not for only women living in the US. It's for, we have women coming in from other countries as well. And we'll be sending out an email from Fairygodboss with the recording of the webinar and the link to the form, the bit.ly form, and also you'll be receiving an email directly from Linda and I as well with more information, including the form on how to apply for that session with us, and more information about the collective. So thank you so much. So much interest. We ran a little bit over, so I'm handing over back to Sam. And
Judy,
you can put our email.
Judy,
yeah.
I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to leave myself, and then so that I can go in the chat and put, I don't know why the bit.ly link isn't working, but so that I can put the thing in the form.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you both so much. Thank you everybody who attended. We will be sending out the link in the follow-up email, so you will have it. And yes, there is a recording. You will get it at the end of the day today. If we didn't have time to answer your question, I encourage you to leave it in the Fairygodboss feed. We have millions of women who are eager to give you advice based on their past experiences, their current experiences, and they're always there to help. Thank you again, and we will catch you all at the next one. Bye.
Bye.